The SANS Institute, the most trusted source for computer security certification training and research. Visit SANS.org to explore their full curriculum and latest training offerings. NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with their proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email at contact@netsparker.com. ITProTV, an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. Stream over 2,000 hours of up-to-date, high-quality video content live and on demand. For a free 7-day trial and for a limited time, get 50% off a monthly membership for the lifetime of your active subscription. Visit itpro.tv/Security Weekly and use the code SW50. Logarithm's Netmon Freemium delivers real-time network visibility to quickly identify emerging threats in your IT environment. Netmon Freemium is a free commercial-grade network forensics and traffic analytics solution. You can use Netmon Freemium's powerful capabilities to search against all observed network traffic, identify abnormal traffic patterns in application usage, and quickly analyze full packet captures. Take the first step towards real-time network visibility. Visit logarithm.com/freemium to learn more and download it today. Welcome back, everyone, to Paul Security Weekly. Really quick, the InfoSec World 2017 conference is being held April 3rd through the 5th at the Omni Orlando Resort at Champions Gate in Orlando, Florida. Security Weekly listeners, if I enunciate, receive 10% off a conference or world pass when using the code OS17-SW. Hear talks from Kevin Johnson, Rich Mogul, Cory Doctorow, and more. InfoSecWorld.misty.com is where you want to go to register. Sign up today. It's going to be a lot of fun. All of these conferences, pay close attention. We're going to be there. We're going to be doing hacker movie trivia. We might do hacker history trivia. We might just do hacking culture trivia. And you come to the booth, and I think what we're kind of toying with to get people to loosen up and come to the booth and do an interview is we're going to give you booze. I tell you what, when we happen to procure a bottle of bourbon at the conference and offer that to people who wanted to come visit and do a sit-down interview with us, the response was pretty fantastic. So I want to up the game. I want you to come to our booth. I'll teach you how to make an old-fashioned. Then you get to drink said old-fashioned and then do some hacker trivia with me. So that would be just fantastic. Don Pezet from ITProTV is not actually here with us. It's a pre-recorded segment, but you're going to hear him talk about encrypting your backups on S3. He's going to show you how to do that exactly. Not exactly do that. That's not proper English. I've been in a conference for 2 days. I'm done. I'm glad Don's taking the ball because I'm dropping the mic after this, and I'm done for today until tomorrow when we do Startup Security Weekly and a webcast. But then after that, I'm really dropping the mic for the week, and I'm going to take some NyQuil and go to bed. So everyone, Don Pezet from ITPro TV, encrypting your backups and sending them to Amazon S3.
Hi, I'm Don Pezet with ITProTV, and I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about securing online backups. A lot of us back up to online solutions, and the data goes up there, and we know it's there, and we know we can use it to go and retrieve our data. But I can't tell you how many times I've heard from people that have gotten attacked by ransomware. You get your system compromised, and it encrypts not only your data, but also the data in your online backups because it's online. If you're using something like Apple's Time Machine, it's just a hard drive attached to your system. It's easy for that to get encrypted also. Even if the drive was already encrypted with something like File Vault, when you connect it, your credentials are what have decrypted it, and now it gets compromised. You lose it. Well, we can't have that happen, right? It's bad enough with individual data, but with company and corporate data, it may not even be an option. We might have regulatory compliance that says we need to maintain backups for 7 years. Well, if those backups get encrypted, now you've broken the law. Really, you're going to get fined or penalized or whatever happens with your regulations. So we have to make sure that doesn't happen. And what I'm going to do in this segment is show you how we can use Amazon's S3 and Amazon's Glacier to make sure that doesn't happen to us. Now, Amazon S3 is online storage that we can use as part of AWS. Really easy to take our data and get it thrown right up into S3. Glacier is similar. It's online storage, but it's just slower to access. Most of it's actually offline. And when you go to request it, it could take up to 5 hours for that data to get provided to you. Well, what we can do is we can leverage several features in the two solutions to create a perfect online solution that's even submittable in court as being able to be shown as unmodified and intact. So very, very safe, very stable, and it can be used from a home user all the way up to an enterprise user. Very flexible solution. So let's get started. First off, I'm going to jump into into AWS, and we'll go into S3, and I'm going to whip up a bucket. And a bucket is simply just a place where I'm going to store my data. So I'm going to come in here and tell it, hey, look, I need to store some backups, and so I'll create ITProTV demo backups. And that's going to be my bucket. I'm going to choose a region that's near me. This is the geographic region, and the closer it is physically to me, the better network performance I'll get to it. So I'll go North Virginia because I am in Florida. And then on my properties here, we're going to see the first setting that I want to highlight, and this is the versioning setting. By default, if you overwrite a object inside of S3, the previous version is gone. So if somebody were to try and encrypt your data, they could send it up into S3 and it would overwrite the data you had. Now you've lost access to your backup, which we don't want. So this is the first feature I want to highlight because we can turn it on, and now we don't have to worry about that. If somebody overwrites our data, we'll have the previous version sitting right there. So I can enable that, and now we'll have it in business. And notice how it can't be turned off. Like once it's on, you can suspend it from creating new versions, but you can't stop the old ones. So it's kind of a permanent feature. All right, so I've turned that on. And next we'll see our permissions. Now, I don't use these permissions right here. Instead, I use bucket policies. And the reason is these permissions are really limited, read and write, and that's it. But with a bucket policy, we can do all sorts of crazy things. We can come in and say, like, you're allowed to do reads of data, and you're allowed to do writes, but you can't delete something unless you have multi-factor authentication, right? That's a neat feature to have. Well, you can't set that on that permission screen. So I'm just going to move past it, and I'll hit Create Bucket. And once the bucket is created, now I've got it right here. I can click on ITProTV Demo Backups, and I can go under Permissions, and I can ignore this access control list that I showed you guys a second ago, and instead create a bucket policy. And with a bucket policy, you can be very fine-grained. You can indicate individual people who have what kind of access. You can do separation of powers where you have some people who are allowed to upload backups, different people allowed to download. So very, very specific. But my favorite feature to enable in here is multi-factor authentication delete, or MFA delete. You can create a bucket policy that looks something like this, where it's basically saying we're going to deny anyone. So I've got S3:* and the principal is an asterisk. So I'm saying I want to deny everyone the ability to do a delete if multi-factor authentication present is false, right? We don't want somebody to be able to go in and modify that data unless they have a valid MFA authentication. That way, if somebody gets my credentials, they can't just log in as me and go in and delete everything, right? That's another layer of protection. Now, I've got my versions, but if they get my credentials, I'm an administrator, so they can delete the versions too. So that would be bad. So, the previous versions are nice, but an administrator can delete them. So that's another thing that makes this where it's not really admissible in court, because an administrator can modify the data. But if I have versioning on and I have MFA deletes on, then I know as long as it's not my credentials that get compromised, that my data will be safe and stored right there. All right, so how do we deal with the credentials getting compromised part? Well, first off, don't let it happen. There's that, right? But that doesn't always work out. So the next thing that we can do is we can jump in and leverage Glacier. Now, Glacier is slow. With S3, I can get in and I get access to data, and it's available right now. It's online. But I can't freeze that data in time and guarantee it hasn't been modified. In Glacier, I can. If I switch over to Glacier, so let me just jump back to it. When I go back into Glacier, what I can do is I can create a vault, which is just like a bucket in S3, except a Glacier vault has what's called a vault lock policy. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new vault, and I'll call this my ITProTV demo backup vault. And it's going to ask me for a region, just like we saw with an S3 bucket. And I'll leave notifications off right now. You can set it where it emails you and sends you text messages and things anytime an event happens. I'll leave mine at the defaults, and I'll get that backup vault created. Now, in the backup vault, I can set up permissions, and I can create a policy document just like we saw in S3. But what's different here is I can create a vault lock. And the way a vault lock works is it lets me create a policy, and then it can be locked and made permanent. Even an administrator can't change the policy. When I create a vault lock policy, I have a moment here to enter in what my policy is going to be. And then when I submit it and initiate it, a 24-hour timer starts. I have 24 hours to test the policy and make sure it works the way that I want it to. And if it does, great, I leave it there. And after 24 hours, it becomes permanent. If I don't like it, if it's not working, I can delete it, recreate it, I can change it. I've got 24 hours to do it. But once that vault lock policy is created and the vault is locked, now this policy can't be changed. And in that policy, I can put in things like this policy statement right here, where we're denying the ability to perform the delete archive command. So I'm going to deny people the ability to perform deletes when the archive age in days is less than 365. Here we would set what our retention period was. So if we're legally obligated to hold the data for 7 years, we would put in whatever that is in days, right? So a couple of thousand days, right? So you would say the archive age in days is whatever. And now, even if I'm an administrator, if I come in and I try and delete an archive that's younger than 365 days in this case, I'm not going to be able to delete it. I can't remove that. It's frozen in there by this policy and it's locked. Okay. And Amazon's very serious about this system. They've had it audited by external providers, and they actually just published not too long ago that they got a third party to come in and validate it for SEC 17A4F so that you can submit this in the court of law and show that, hey, that data was stored in a vault. The vault had a vault lock policy on it, and it has not been tampered with because it could not be changed in X amount of time. Now, I know I said modified, right? And I was doing a delete policy in the example. Remember that S3 and Glacier, they don't have modify commands. They have delete and replace, right? So I can delete data and then upload new data. That's how you modify. So we don't have to worry about modify. We just have to worry about the delete side of things. If I stop people from deleting the archive, I know I've got it, and I know it's in the original form that it was when it was uploaded and stored in there. All right. Now, where you can tie these two technologies together, S3 is really fast. We can get at the data right away. But Glacier is really slow, but it's more secure. So we want to use Glacier, but if I have a failure on my network, I need access to my backups right away. So the neat thing that we can do is we can leverage both of them. In S3, you can create a bucket like I did, my ITProTV demo backups bucket. And if you go under management, you can create a lifecycle. And with a lifecycle policy, you can create a rule that says, transition data to Glacier after 24 hours. So I'm going to say, let data sit here in S3, and then after 24 hours, send it over to Glacier. And so as I move forward, I can specify I'm going to do this for my current version, and I'll add a transition rule. My transition rule is basically going to state that I want to transition to Glacier after 1 day. All right? I'm picking 1 day because I want my most recent backup to be sitting right there, ready for me to get at it in S3. But if I need yesterday's backup or a week ago's backup, that's usually not a disaster. That's more of a somebody accidentally deleted a file or something got tampered with. I need to see the previous version. And can I wait 5 hours for that? Sure. But whatever damage it was happened more than 24 hours ago anyway, so another 5 hours isn't going to be that big of a deal. But if you need access to data urgently, the solution is to put in a delay for going to Glacier or to maintain a local backup of that data. If I have a local backup of the data and I have some kind of failure event occur, I can always just go to the local backup. And if the local backup gets damaged, then I can go up to Glacier and I can pull it. And yeah, there might be a delay. There's also a way we can pay to expedite things to get at that data faster. It's, I think, 3 cents per gigabyte or something like that. And that'll let you get it in a 5-minute window instead of a 5-hour window. Huge difference on that one. But the point here is that we can leverage a number of different technologies. We have versioning in S3. We have MFA deletes in S3. We have our bucket policies to control access. We have life cycles to transition data over into Glacier. And in Glacier, we have vault lock policies where we can permanently secure that data and ensure that it cannot be modified. And when you leverage all of that together, you've got a very secure online backup that's not going to be messed with, and that is admissible in court if need be to show that that data has not been tampered with. So perfect for discovery and regulatory compliance. Now, if you're a home user, that might be a little intimidating, but there's software out there like ARQ. They make a backup solution that fully integrates with S3 and Glacier. But in the enterprise world, you'll find that Backup Exec, Commvault, a lot of the backup software that you're used to has already integrated this technology too. But even if you don't want to do that, you can back up with whatever software you want. And you can use the AWS CLI, the command line interface for AWS. It's very lightweight, runs on Mac OS 10, runs on Windows, runs on Linux. I've got a Linux laptop here. I run the AWS CLI. You can copy your backups right into S3 or right into Glacier from the command line. Very scriptable, very automatable, and makes life a lot easier. All right, well, hopefully you guys have an idea here of how we can implement a secure online backup. And I used S3 and Glacier here, but really any online storage provider should be able to provide these features. Just make sure when you choose a provider that they do provide these features or similar features to make sure that your data is going to be safe and secure and not able to be modified. That way, when you have a disaster, you know the data will be available. You know your backups will be there to save your bacon. That's really what it's all about. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to learn more about AWS or other technologies like these, be sure to check out my site over at ITPro.tv. Jump over there. We have courses on AWS, Azure, a number of other cloud technologies, all available for you. Just jump over there and check it out. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.